Hello, my name is Jeremy and today I'm sewing the Hatton Fleece jacket by Cashmerette. The Hatton Fleece jacket is part of the Cashmerette Club membership program. If you want to learn more about the membership program, please click the link in the description. The Hatton Fleece jacket features a zippered chest pocket, hand pockets along the side seams to keep your hands warm, a zipper guard behind the center front zipper, color blocking if you choose, and a binding finish along the hems and the center front and collar. I'm going to walk you through all the steps today to sew your very own Hatton Fleece jacket, so let's get to it. For my materials today, I'm going to be using a polar fleece, and this is my main color, color A, and this is my color B. For the pocket fabric, I'm using something similar to a board short fabric. And for my findings and notions, I have 3 6-inch zippers for the chest and hand pockets, and a separating zipper for the center front. And for my FOE, or my fold over elastic, I'm using a 1-inch wide white. And you can kind of see that there is a groove down the center where you would fold it. But when you're purchasing it, you're looking for the unfolded width is 1 inch. All of our seam allowances today are 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters. And I'll be using a 2.5 millimeter stitch length. Let's get sewing. I've cut all of my notches out so they're really visible to you. You don't have to do this. You can follow the instructions on how to notch. And I'm going to be sewing using a contrast yellow thread. I'm going to be finishing my seams with a 3-thread overlock. Our first step is to sew our darts on our upper fronts. We'll place our dart right sides together and sew from the side seam to the end of the dart. You can press your darts up or down. Next, we'll sew the upper back to the upper fronts at the shoulders. Place it right sides together and we'll sew at our 1/2 inch or 12 millimeter seam allowance. And now we're going to finish this seam allowance and press the seam towards the upper back. Next up is the sleeve. So we're going to sew our upper sleeve to our lower sleeve. And next I'm going to finish the edge there, just like so. And we're going to press this seam down toward the lower sleeve. We're ready to attach our sleeves to the upper body. So we're going to match our notches here, pressing your shoulder seams towards the back. And we'll sew this at a 1/2 inch seam. All right, now we'll finish that seam allowance and we'll repeat for the other side, and we're going to press this seam toward the sleeve. And it's starting to look like this. Let's sew our underarm seam and our side seam of our upper body. I've matched my armhole seam and my upper and lower sleeve seam here to each other, and I've made sure the dart lines up with the side seam. If you pressed your dart up, you're going to want to trim it to match the side seam shape. You're going to repeat for the other side, and then we'll finish our underarm seam. Let's attach our collars. I've interfaced one of my collars here. It's kind of hard to tell. And we're going to take the interfaced collar here and we're going to put it right sides together to the outer upper body. We're going to line up all of our edges and our notches. Press your shoulder seams towards the back. And we're going to base the outer collar to the upper body with a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam. Make sure you take a second to straighten out your jacket so that the little section that you're sewing is in the curved shape the best you can. That's when tucks happen, is when the jacket sort of gets folded or pulled and that neckline is curved even though the collar is straight. Now if you want to add a label, now's a really good time to put one here at the center back neck. Now we're going to take our inner collar, the one that's not interfaced, and we're going to put it right side to the inside of our jacket, and we're going to sew it the same way, but we're going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to line up all of our notches again, our centers and edges. And this time we'll sew at a regular stitch length at the full seam allowance of 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters. And let's make sure that none of our stitching is showing on the outside. And now we'll grade the seam allowances and trim them and clip the neckline along the curve. Now we'll press our collar up and we'll line them up around the perimeter edge here, wrong sides together. And we'll base these two layers together at about a 1/8 inch or 3mm seam, just around the collar edge. Make sure your layers aren't getting shifted. You don't want any torquing here. Just stack them one right on top of the other. It's coming along. I've switched to a zipper foot since we're going to be working on our chest pocket now. I'm going to pre-finish my edges along the notched side since it's a little bit of a tight fit for my serger to get between the zipper teeth and the edge of the fabric. We're going to start with our inner chest pocket piece. We're going to place the zipper right side facing the fabric, and we're going to center it between these two notches that you can kind of still see right here. We'll center it, and we're going to sew along the zipper as close as we can. If you still need to finish your edge, you're going to do that now. And now we're going to press the seam allowance towards the fabric, and we're going to top stitch along the edge here. Now we're going to sew this to our outer chest pocket, and we're going to line up the zipper edge to the other notched edge. Again, we're going to sew close to the zipper. I'm going to switch back to my regular presser foot. And now we're going to line this notch up to this notch here, creating a flap over the zipper. We're going to base this along the top here. And we'll do the same at the bottom. Now we're going to stitch a box right around our zipper so we can sort of secure the flap and create the opening. So I'm going to open up the zipper so that I can center a 5.5 inch opening and stitch a box right over the flap here, which will secure the flap and create the opening. I'm going to find the center, and we'll measure 5.5 inches centered over that. I can use my Hero marker to create a nice straight line so I have something to follow while I'm stitching. And we'll be stitching through the zipper, but not through the zipper stops. So you want to make sure the zipper pull is out of the way and inside this opening section. And you're going to stitch right through the coil chain. It's very easy to stitch through. All right, we have our chest pocket here with the zipper opening and the built-in flap. Now we're going to finish the perimeter edges, and we're going to turn them under by 1/2 inch. All right, so I've pressed under my edges the best I can. This fabric really didn't want to be pressed. And we'll line it up to the markings on the jacket. And then we're going to top stitch around the perimeter. It's time for our side seam pockets. I've switched my presser foot to a zipper foot. We have our lower front and a zipper. We're going to put the zipper face down to this extension right here along the pocket edge. And we're going to sew as close as possible. I'm going to center the zipper along this extension. Now I'm going to flip the zipper face up. And we're going to edge stitch the fabric along the zipper opening here. We're going to grab our lower back. We're going to place our lower front on top of the lower back. I'm going to switch my foot to a regular foot. We're going to line it up along the side seam here. And we're going to start and stop right where the extension starts and stops. just like this. We're going to clip from the edge of the extension right up to our stitching. And we're only making this clip on the lower front. Clip, just like this. This is the notch on the back. You can see here's the clip. Now we're going to align this free edge of our zipper to the unsewn side seam of the back here. So we're going to pull it away and sort of let it pleat over here, lining up the zipper tape to the back. You might need to switch back to your zipper foot. All right, so we're making sure our zipper is lined up to the back, this little section here that's not sewn. We're making sure that this extension on the front is kind of pleated out of the way, and we're just going to stitch along the zipper here. I'm going to reach under and lower my zipper pull. Just like this. We're going to press the seam open here. We're going to let the extension just fold back on itself here while we press the seam open. Now if you want to finish your seam allowances along your lower front, do so now. You can also use fold over elastic. Just make sure you don't catch the fold of your extension. Now on the right side, we're going to mark a line a 1/2 inch away from our zipper opening here. I'm going to pull down my zipper. I'm going to mark exactly where I want to start and stop. So here to here. Switch back to my regular presser foot. Now we're going to stitch parallel along the zipper through all the layers a 1/2 inch away from the side seam here. It's looking like this. You can see this is the line of stitching right here. From here, we're going to fold our front over the back here, exposing the side seam. We'll place one pocket bag lined up to the top edge and the side seam. And the pocket bag is going to be about a 1/2 inch too short for the seam here. We're going to sew it to the side seam allowance here at a 1/4 inch seam. And now we're going to finish this seam allowance. And again, I had to do it in 2 passes to move the zipper head. Now we'll base the pocket bag to the top and center front edges of the lower front. And we'll stitch this at about 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Now we can repeat for the other side. Now we're going to add a bar tack at the top and bottom of our pocket opening, right where we stopped that parallel 1/2 inch stitching. I'm just going to do a few straight stitches here to imitate my bar tack. Here we have our finished side seam zipper pocket, and I will repeat these steps for the other pocket. Time to attach our upper body to our lower body. We're going to sew this one long seam here, and then we'll finish it. We'll line up our notches and our side seams. If you need to offset the thicknesses, go for it. Now we're going to finish this long edge, and then we'll press it towards the lower bodice. It's time to get out our fold over elastic, and we're going to take some measurements, and then we're going to attach it to the center front and the collar. You're going to use the chart in the instructions. Next, you're going to grab your elastic, you're going to stretch it a bit to kind of limber it up. Our last little step for prepping is we're going to measure along our elastic and mark each section. We're going to start on our jacket from the wrong side. We're going to place the elastic right side to the wrong side of the jacket. Now I'm going to pin my elastic to the jacket, lining up each section. Now's a really good time to make sure that your sections along the center front match left to right. Once you have your fold over elastic pinned right side to the wrong side or inside of your jacket, we're going to sew it with a 1/4 inch or a 6mm seam. Now, if you're using a high pile fleece, you might find it helpful to trim down the seam allowance a bit. I'm going to pay attention to my junctures here where there's seam thicknesses. Now we're going to turn the elastic to the right side, fold it, and that little fold edge of your FOE might be on the inside. We want this edge to cover our first seam there, and we'll pin it in place. Now we'll edge stitch along the edge of the elastic, making sure that we're covering up our first seam. You should see about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch on the right side, or 6 to 10 millimeters. There we go. Starting to really look like a jacket now. It's time to assemble our zipper guard. We're going to place our zipper guard right sides together, and we're going to sew at our full seam allowance. And we're sewing along the curved edge. We're sewing along the curved straight edge and across the short bottom, and we're leaving the long straight edge open. Now we'll trim our seam allowance down close to the stitching. And we'll turn it right side out. We're going to give it a press if possible. So now I'm going to top stitch around the perimeter here. This is our right side up with the pocket fabric facing up. And then we're going to trim down along the raw edge close to the stitching. We're attaching our zipper to our zipper guard now, and we're going to refer to the measurements we took when we were measuring for the fold over elastic. We're going to make one important change to those measurements, and that's for the A1 measurement, which is the lower body. We're going to subtract 1 inch from that measurement to account for the hem. We're going to mark on both sides of our tape, and we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. Now we'll pin our zipper to the zipper guard, and we'll start at the bottom here, lining up to the left side as you're looking at it here with your pocket fabric face up. We're going to put the wrong side of the zipper to the zipper guard, and we're going to align our markings to the notches on the zipper guard. Once you've got your markings, we know the length of our zipper, and if you need to shorten your zipper, we're going to do so right now. If you don't need to shorten your zipper, you're going to bend back your zipper tape just like this, at a 90-degree angle, and I like the fold to line up to the top edge here, and then we're going to stitch right here. We're going to do the same thing down here to shorten it. I pull this down at a 90-degree angle, and I let the fold go up along this edge here, rather than going along the zipper here where our zipper slider is going to move. Be really firm with this, and I would pin the other side. You want to make sure your zipper is going to be the same on both sides to one another. There we go. And now we're going to secure it. We're going to sew right along this edge here where the zipper tape lines up to this. Should look like this. And we're going to make our cut lined up to this edge here, right through the coil. Just like that. Now we're going to pin our zipper to the zipper guard, and we're going to line up our measurement sections to the notches. The bottom should line up to the very bottom. Now we'll wrap the top of our zipper guard down over the zipper just like this so that the main fabric is showing. And we'll pin that in place. We want all these edges lined up nicely. We're going to baste this in place. We're going to baste this in place. And now we'll take a length of fold over elastic and we're going to finish this edge here. We're going to leave a little bit hanging off the edge there. We'll wrap it all the way down. We're going to stitch right along the edge, catching both sides of the fold over elastic at the same time. The fold will help you. All right, so I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters here and just fold this toward the right side of the zipper guard. We're going to stitch right across to secure that little end down, and it'll look just like that. Now we're going to line up our finished jacket front to our zipper guard here, lining up those same. I can see my marking here to line up to the seam here. And the zipper guard's going to stop 1 inch above the end of the jacket here, because that's our hem allowance. And we're going to stitch this down in the existing stitching of our fold over elastic. All right, so now I'm going to stitch in this existing stitching right here. All right, there we go. We have our zipper attached to the front here. All right, so now we have our zipper guard attached to our center front. Make sure that your seam lines are still marked on the other side of your zipper tape, because now we're going to open our zipper up, remove it, and we're going to attach it to the other side. Now if you want to wrap your zipper tape up with fold over elastic just like we did on the zipper guard, you can do that. It is a finished edge, so it's up to you. And now we're going to line up those marks to our seams. Let's make sure that our front lines up here at the bottom. It's always great to test first, just in case. We'll make sure everything's looking like it's lining up. And now again, we're going to stitch in the original stitching of our fold over elastic to secure our zipper tape. So make sure that it's going to reach. Definitely looking like a jacket now. We just have our hems left. Here we go. Here's our jacket. It's time to hem our sleeves. I've cut 2 pieces of fold over elastic according to the chart in the instructions for the sleeves and the size that I'm making. We're going to join our fold over elastic pieces in the round. So we're going to sew the short edges together and we'll press open the seam. We'll line up our seam to the underarm seam. I'm going to press the seam toward the back and we'll wrap the fold over elastic around the edge. Sort of stretch the sleeve to fit once I've got 2 sides secured, and then we can pin the remainder. I'm going to turn my sleeve inside out. It'll be a little easier for me to sew since I have a flat bed. And you'll repeat for your other sleeve, and then we'll move on to hemming our jacket. We're at the last step of our jacket. We just need to cut a piece of fold over elastic once we've given it a good stretch, the length of our hem here. I'm going to leave a little extra at the end so I can wrap it around and finish it. I've marked my elastic halfway and I'm going to line that up to the middle of the lower back so I can make sure I'm staying on track. Even though it measures about the same, you just never know, things can shift around. I'm going to leave a little bit hanging off of mine, but you can cut yours flush if you like. And we're going to sew it in place through all 3 layers. We'll press our side seams towards the back. I'm going to wrap this little edge towards the inside, and we're going to fold it up along our 1-inch hem. All right, now we're going to stitch from the right side, and we're going to stitch at the top edge of our fold over elastic. It's very nice and clean, look at that. And if your thread matches your fold over elastic, it'll look that much better. And we're all done. Nice job on your Hatton jacket. I can't wait to see where it takes you and all the adventures you'll go on wearing it. If you want to get your copy of the Hatton jacket, check the link in the description for the Cashmerette Club. And until the next time, happy sewing.